der Rebbe gemacht mit dir Aksar? Hat die Mama gefragt. Oh, Lile, dem Rebens Wort ist genug, hat der Tate gesagt. Wie viel hat dir zugesagt, zollen Schires, hat die Mama gewollt wissen. Der Rebbe hat gesagt, als
Wirst du
wegen
übersetzen?
Parnasse darf ich mich nicht sorgen. Es wird sein, mit Gottes Hilfe berewach, hat der Tate gesagt, erscheinendiger.
Wirst du
Okay.
übersetzen? Ja.
Ja, ich habe vergessen. Also, ja. Okay. Did the rabbi make with you an agreement, like a contract? Mother asked. God forbid. The rabbi's word is sufficient, the father said. How much did he promise you to pay you rent? Mother wanted to know. The rabbi
not rent, salary. Schiris. Salary, not rent.
Well, payment in general.
Yeah.
Payment.
Okay, thank you. Der Rebbe hat gesagt, als wegen Parnasse darf ich mich nicht sorgen. The rabbi said that regarding money, income, I don't have to worry. It will be, with God's help, there will be enough profit. Father said, beamingly. Die Sache gefällt mir nicht, hat die Mama gesagt. Wie abgießen dich mit Kaltwasser dem Tatens enthusiasm. This thing, I don't like this thing, my mother said, as if she was pouring cold water on my father's enthusiasm. Ich hab lieber gesagt, auf Wort, man kann sich nicht losen auf Hefker mit Kindern. I like a contract, a word. You cannot rely on really on nothing when you have children. Die Sechsuchim zwischen Tate und Mama haben sich angehoben aufs Neue. The arguments between father and mother started again. Die Mama hat herausgebracht die alte Teines zum Taten, falls sie nicht wollen belegen ein Examen, für sein Leben mit Fantasies, für nicht klären wegen der Tachlis. My mother came out with all her old complaints to my father for his unwillingness to pass an exam that is in Goyish language. For his living with fantasies, for not thinking about reality, about real benefits. Der Tate hat nicht geentfert und genommen sich zu sein alter Uvda, verentfern raschen. My father did not answer, and he started with his old, talking about his old
defense.
What were you saying?
he was defending Rashi against the Tosfos.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I know, but the Uvda sein
Oh,
alter...
his magnum opus.
Okay,
Is it an
but-
Aramaic word?
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the root in Aramaic, ayin beis dalid, means to do
Oh,
or to
okay.
make. So that which he is making, it's his magnum opus here.
His major work.
Yes.
Aber euch bei der Arbeit hat kein Menucha nicht gehabt. But in him doing this work, he didn't have any peace. Die Balabatim in Stettel schmecheln die in die Berd über dem, was der Raufseher hat kein besser Rabbonis nicht gekrogen, aber oft geteinet, als sie können nicht der Losen zu dieser Sache, als man soll sie wegwerfen, suchen andere Städtlich und zurückkommen zu sehen, wenn etwas wenn etwas Besseres ist nicht da. So the homeowners, like the middle class people or in the town, while smiling into their beards because the rabbi did not get a better position as a rabbi, they often argued that they could not allow such a thing, that they should be neglected by the rabbi, or the Rebbe, looking for for other positions, and then coming back to them when he cannot find anything better. Sie können nicht der Losen, als der Rov soll Geseder halten in einer Umfahren und überlosen das Städtel auf Hefker. Also es ist nicht so viele, wenn man eine Scheile zu fragen. They cannot allow a situation where their Rebbe would consistently travel around and leave the town with nothing, so that there is nobody to ask a question, even a question regarding religious matters. Trotzdem seinen vor der Zeit gehad ausgebrochen Machleukes in Städten zwischen die Hasidim und die Proselyte. Besides that, at that time also there arguments broke out in town between the Hasidim and the ordinary people. Vor der ganzen Zeit und zwischen die zwei Gruppen kein Sholem nicht geherrscht. For all the time, there was no peace between these two groups. Die Proselyte, wo seinen meistens gewinn Balem Loches und Dorfsgeher, aber mit keine gewinn der Hasidim, wo seinen alle gewinn Krämer und Teil von sei Negidim. The ordinary people, who were for the most part menial workers or
Craftsmen.
Craftsmen, right, or farmers,
I don't think so. A door scarer would be someone who goes around to the small villages and sells things.
Yeah,
Peddlers.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Peddlers, perhaps.
Peddler, yeah, but peddlers in peddlers in the villages,
Hmm.
village peddlers. Okay, they were envious of the Hasidim because they were all store owners, and some of them were even rich. Die Hasidim haben verracht die Prostakes versehre Amaratzes. The Hasidim felt contempt or put down the ordinary people for their ignorance. Es ist gewesen die alte Kindersinne zwischen höhere und niedrigere Klassen. Aber die Kindersinne hat meistens gefunden in Ausdruck, ihr Ausdruck in jüdische Sachen. So the old envy and hatred between the higher and lower classes came out. But this envy and hate came to the fore, particularly regarding Jewish issues. Die Prosteleit, was haben sich gerufen Misnagdim, haben gedavnt Nusach Ashkenaz. Die Hasidim haben gedavnt Nusach Sfarad. So the ordinary people who were called Misnagdim, that's the oppositional party who opposes the Hasidus, they were praying the Ashkenaz way. And the Hasidim were praying the Sephardic way. Aber so wie die Hasidim seinen gewähnt die Ballet Tfila, die Ballet Kriye, die Ballet Kie, haben sie gedavnt fahren Amud und Tage in sehr sephardischen Nusach. But because the Hasidim were the prayer leaders, the Torah readers, the shofar blowers, they were praying in front of the congregation, and indeed in their Sephardic style. Die, was haben gedavnt, Nusach Ashkenaz seinen geworden aufgekocht, jedes Mal, was ein chassidischer Baltfila hat ungeheuben davenen nicht von Mizmor Shir, nicht von Mizmor Shir,
Mizmor Shir Chanukah Sabayis.
Okay, Mizmor Shir Chanukah, okay, no von Hodu. Okay, those...
There's a big difference between the Sephardish and
Yeah.
the Ashkenazic Psuke de Zimra, where it begins.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Now the Nasach Vibina, Baruch HaNoten Lasach Vibina, that part. Yeah.
Right after that. Actually,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
it is right after that. It's right after the Birchas HaShachar. Do you start with
Yeah,
Mizmor Shir
yeah.
Chanukah Sabayis LeDavid, or do you start with Hodu?
So, Baruch HaNoten LaYaev Koach. Okay. All right. So those that were praying Ashkenaz style got upset each time that a Hasidic prayer leader started to pray not from Mizmor Shir Chanukah Rabbi, one place, but from another place, from Hodu. Be thankful to God. That's what. Oder ungeheuben die Kedusha, bei Nagdishcha v'na'aritzcha nicht bei Nekadesh. Okay. Or they started the Kedusha part.
This is the
Not,
Shachris Kedusha.
not with this word, but with another, but with this word. That
Right,
that was the
this is the Kedusha of Shachris, which the Ashkenazim begin with Nekadesh Shimcha, but the Sephardic tradition is to start with Nakdishcha v'na'aritzcha. That's for Shachris. Everyone agrees. Well, they don't quite agree on Musaf either, but that's the
but
Shachris Kedusha on
Nagdishcha and
Shabbos.
Aritzcha is also in Ashkenazi.
But
No,
that's in
not-
Musaf.
Naktishach. Naktishach v'na'aritzach. That's how it's they say
Oh,
it in Sephardic.
But this is
Okay.
for Shachris, where the Ashkenazim don't use that wording at all. For
Yeah.
Shachris, Shabbos Shachris,
Okay.
we start by I mean the Ashkenazim start with
Okay.
Nekadesh Shimcha.
Ich lebe und ich lerne. Nu, Nekadesh, haben die Misnagdim gerufen und gesagt, sehr aschkenazische Kedusha. Hagam der Chasen hat sich gehalten bei sein sephardische. So, so the Misnagdim, that's the those that are in opposition and are the ordinary people, they said it their way, even though the cantor kept on praying his Sephardic style. Go aufgekocht pflegen die Misnagdim wären, wenn die Chassidim pflegen nicht sagen Lechadoi, die noch singen mit chassidische Hopkes. Completely upset where the became the ordinary people, the opposers, when the Hasidim didn't say Lechadodi, go my beloved, but they would sing with a Hasidic type of dance. Somebody else take over.
Yeah, so Zogan here often refers to reciting a prayer. So Zogan Haftarah, even though it's chanted, in Yiddish you say Zogan. So
That
the
is- thank
Ashkenazim were
you,
expecting
Yeah.
a chant for Lechadodi instead of wild dancing, which is what the Hasidim would prefer to do. They were doing
Yeah,
it
okay.
Karlabach style.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I'll take over at this point.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I completely don't understand the part with Sephardim and Ashkenazim. There were no Sephardim descendants of the Spanish
That's
Jews.
true. Nonetheless,
And
the
why are they
Hasidim-
called that?
the
I don't get
Hasidim-
it at all.
the Hasidim decided early on that to distinguish themselves in their prayer practice, they would accept the Sephardic Nusach with some modification. It's usually called Nusach Ari. It's from Isaac Luria, but they used that as their standard just to be different. And then all the Hasidim, since the very beginning, have always davened with Nusach Sfard or Nusach Ari. And even though they're not Sephardim at all. And so, for example, at Yiddish Vach, when we have a bilingual Siddur, we have one which has got translations into Yiddish from the Hebrew. Well, what could you find? We had to find the Hasidic one. It's a Satmar. And I see all these differences from what I'm used to. The Psukei de Zimra is ordered differently, and it is a Nusach Sfard or Nusach Ari Siddur. So even though they're not Sfardim at all, That is the nusach they chose.
Does it have to do with the fact that in Israel the Hebrew is Sephardic?
No, nothing at all. That's a completely
That's what's
different discussion.
confusing.
That's a different discussion. This is nusach Sfard,
Oh,
not
okay.
Havora Sfard.
Oh,
In fact, they would pronounce it still with Ashkenazic pronunciation.
I see. Okay, okay.
They're using the Ashkenazic pronunciation. In fact, the Yiddish pronunciation, very likely. But they would be
Even a
davening from a
Yeah,
nusach.
okay, even a Litvak.
Yeah, but the prayers would be ordered and written the way the Sephardim do. There's a few extra words in places. The order of Psukei de Zimra is different. The way you begin Kedusha is different.
Mhm.
Ah,
There are various different nuschaot. The Sfard is one, and then there's a Dot HaMizrach, which is another one, which is also, but completely different in the order of the prayers, and not completely different, but very much more different
There's
than
also
the.
Italki.
may I ask another question? Yankev, you said nuschaot, and I hear other people saying nuschaot, but in my mind, in my Hebrew mind, right, the plural of nusach should be nusachim.
Well, in
Not
Yiddish, it's
nuschaot.
nuschoas.
Yeah, it's the Yiddish way.
What did you say?
It's nuschoas. It's feminine.
Nuschoas?
In Yiddish,
Okay.
in Yiddish, it's got the feminine sort of ending. I don't know in Hebrew. Sometimes Yiddish chooses a different plural from the like talesim instead of talitot, shabbosim
Yeah.
instead of shabbatot. So
Okay, that
you
is
can't
true.
tell the Hebrew from the Yiddish.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
let me
thank
pick up with by Yedin Davenin.
Okay.
By
Thank
Yedin
you.
Davenin flagen kommen zu vista machlekes. Every time they would daven, it would come to disagreements, or vista machlokes is wild. Well, vist is kind of empty, but how am I going to translate vist here?
Serious?
Desolate, dismal, let's say dismal arguments. Mein Vater pflegt die Tzadodim einstillen. My father used to quiet the two parties. Aber wenn es nicht gewesen in Städtel, pflegen die Machleukes sich zu flackern. But when he was not in town, then these disputes would flame up. Die Prostakes haben euch geteinet, als die Chassidim nehmen sich die schönste Aliyas, die beste Hakafas. The ordinary folk also complained that the Hasidim were taking the best aliyahs. That's like the third aliyah, for example. The best hakafas. We're coming up to Simchas Torah, so this is the hakafas on Simchas Torah. They would get the best ones, the first and the last. Nehmen sich herab die Smetana und lassen über für die Mesnagdim die Säuermilch. To take the cream from the top and to leave the sour milk for the Misnagdim. Hagba Galila and andere Azelcha nicht wichtige aliyas. They would leave over the less important honors, such as lifting and tying the Torah. In einem Shabbos hat man aufgerufen zu der Teure einem von die Prosteleit. So one Shabbos, they called up to the Torah one of the ordinary folk, dem Tandetnik Shiafonia. So his name is Shiafonia, and he's a Tandetnik. And a Tandetnik is a second-hand shop merchant. A Yid was Hatomed der Zeltmeises, a fellow who was always telling stories von Fonien about his service in the Russian army, Vemmen hat gedient, whom he had served. So that's why they call him Shia Fonia. Shia is Isaiah, and Fonia was his nickname. Moshe Mendel Katzev, der Yid was hat sich gedreht darum Chassidim, hat gewollt machen Spaß. Moshe Mendel, the butcher, a fellow who literally twirled about, he partnered up with the Hasidim. He wanted to make fun of him. Und hat eingeräumt dem Tandetnik, als man hat ihm aufgerufen zu der Tochecha. And he whispered to the Tandetnik, to the second-hand store merchant, that they had called him up to the aliyah of the Tochecha, which is usually for the Tochecha. There's 2 Tochechas in the Bible, and these are scoldings. And usually you don't call anyone up for that. The person who is reading takes that aliyah himself, because it's considered bad luck to have the Tochecha as your aliyah. Das ist gewesen liegen. Now, this wasn't true, weil man hat jenem Shabbos gar nicht gelernt die Tochecha. Now, this wasn't true because on that particular Shabbos, they weren't even reading the Tochecha. Aber der Tandetnik is geworden in Kass. But the Tandetnik got angry. And by der Torah, a klap getan in Shulchan. And standing up at the Torah, he banged it on the table, and langt a zelnerischen Mishaberach ala Chasidim in Zera Mama Saraim. And he handed over a soldierly curse, literally a Mishaberach, a blessing. So we'll call it a soldierly blessing to all the Chasidim. Speaking directly about their mothers in Zera Mama Saraim. So typically they would say, Aruach and dein Mama, that sort of thing. May the devil take your mother. Yiddish curses generally don't say your mother is a such and so. Instead, it's may the devil take your mother, your father, whatever. Die Chasidim haben im gerufen Posher Yisrael, Amoretz. Now the Chasidim started calling him an Amoritz is an ignoramus. Posher Yisrael,
criminal.
I'm trying to look it up here to see if I can find it in my own dictionary here. I don't find it directly. Sinful. A sinner of Israel. A sinner of Israel, call it that. Andere Proselyte haben sich angenommen waren Tandetnik. Now, other of the common folk, they took the side of the Tandetnik. Es ist gekommen zu a Vister Machleike beim Davening. So it came to a dismal dispute in the middle of the davening. And I feel it's a patch. It even came to blows. Versteht sich, als Moshe Mendel Katzev hat verkaschert die Arbel von sein chassidischer Outblessener Kapotte und geteilt katzovische Patch dem Chosten Saad. Now, it goes without saying that Moshe Mendel, the butcher, he rolled up his sleeves, the sleeves of his Hasidic satin long coat, and he handed out butcher-like slaps to the folk on the ordinary side, the ordinary folk on their side. Azoi wie mein Vater ist nicht gewesen in Stettel, and because my father wasn't in town, haben sich die Gepatschte und die Patscher angeklagt gegenseitig in Gericht. Those who were slapped and those who were slapping, they were summoned, each side into court. Der Poretz Christofsky, we've seen him before. He's the landowner whose town this is, and he also acts as the judge. The landowner Christofsky, you can tell from his name that he's not Jewish, hat bei kein Fall nicht gekannt verstehen die all-jiddische Teines über Aliyas, Tochecha, Nusach Ashkenaz, Nusach Sfard. He wasn't at all able to understand all of these Jewish complaints about honors to the Torah and the section of curses and the custom of Ashkenaz and the custom of Sfard. Die Jiden haben ihm probiert, durchs Teitschen alle in Polish. So the Jews tried to explain to him in Polish, as die Heut Machleike nimmt sich zu lieb anheben das Davenen bei Mizber Shechanakas oder bei Haidu. They try to explain that the principal disagreement starts with beginning davening at whether you start at Mizmor Shir Chanukah Sabayis LeDavid or whether you start at Hodu. Techasidaki Muvyon Hodu Napshud. Now, if this were Shalom Aleichem, I would now immediately look this up in Google Translate. Anyone here have any Slavic?
No.
Well, Chasidaki is the Chasidim. Muvyon, Hodu, and Napshud.
Movie on it, I think speak. They say funny movie movie po polsku.
Yeah, I'm just going to see. I'm looking up in Polish here. So what was this again? Pronounce it again for me. It's, okay, here it is. It's Te Chasidaki. Okay, these Chasidaks, and the ak ending is a pejorative. Muvyon. I don't have that. Sorry. Oh, well. Hodu Napshad. He said something or other. That's what they're explaining to him. Hat im einer von die Proselyte erklärt. These Chasidaks, they're starting with Hodu. One of the ordinary folk explained. Me, Prostaki, but we, the ordinary folk, Muvyon Mizmor Shir Chanukah Napshud. But we start over with that. Das heißt, translated, as the Chassidim sagen Hodu früher, or the Ashkenazim sagen Mizmor Shir Chanukah früher. Napshud must be earlier. Der Richter hat sie abgeschickt zum Rav. Well, the judge sent them off to the rabbi. Soll sie ausgleichen, to set them straight. Aber der Tate ist nicht gewesen in Städtel. The father wasn't in town. Haben die Chassidim gar herausgenommen die schönste Sefer Torah von Oren Kodesh, dem Nogid Sefer Torah, mit alle ausgezirrte Jaden und Blechen und gemacht sich an eigen Chassidim-Stiebel. So, the Chassidim, they actually took the nicest scroll of the law, Sefer Torah, out of the ark. It was the rich man's Sefer Torah that are all of the nicely fashioned yad. These are silver pointers, and blechen. These would be the shields, the ornaments on the Torah. And they made their own Hasidim Stiebel. They made their own prayer hall for Hasidim. Die Prostakis sind geblieben an Bale Tefillah. The ordinary folk then were left without anyone to lead the davening on Bale Kriya, without anyone who could read the Torah, and Bale Tkiya, or people who knew how to blow the shofar. Die Machlekes hat gebrennt. The dispute was burning. Beide Tzadadim haben beschuldigt dem Taten. Both sides held my father as to account for this. Als das Alts ist herausgekommen zu lieb dem, was sitzt nicht in Städtel. It's all coming because of the fact that he is not remaining in town. Nor fährt suchen sich andere Rabbonissen. He's just traveling around looking for other rabbinic postings. Tel Balabostis haben sich abgesagt zu kaufen bei der Mamen, Haven, zu die Chalas. Some of the middle-class women, wives, they refused to purchase yeast by my mother. It was one of the ways you'd pay a rabbi was by giving the monopoly over yeast to the wife of the rabbi. And they said, we're not going to buy your yeast for the chalas. Was ist gewesen a Beisteher zu der Parnasse, stehens gesagt, which was a support for his income.
A supplement.
A supplement, yeah, a supplement to income, as if to say, als kein Scheile zu fragen ist nicht dabei wemmen, darf man euch für kein Haven nicht zahlen teurer, haben Weiber geteilt. If there's no one to go to, with a question about kashrus, well, we also don't have to pay a higher price for yeast, the women complained. Die schöne Balabatim haben abgehalten a stille Asife und zugeschickt mit der Jingel die Forderungen, was sie haben dem Taten herausgestellt. The richer folk, they held a meeting, a quiet meeting, and they sent a youngster with the demands that they had set out for father. Das ist gewesen ein Ultimatum zum Rov Zeren. This was a sort of ultimatum to their rabbi. As Oiber will bleiben Rov in Lenchin. If he wants to remain the rabbi of Lenchin, darf ausführen die Forderungen, was werden ihm herausgestellt. Then he's got to follow, he's got to obey the demands which they're setting out. Das Papier ist gewesen geschrieben in Lashon Kodesh und hat gehabt a langen Zettel mit Takonis, Leuten Aleph Beis. This paper was written in Hebrew, and it had a long list of particulars following the alphabet. Die erste Takana is given as der Rov tornisht arumfahren. The first rule was that the rabbi should not travel around, nor sitzen auf an Ort. He should stay in one place. Keder soll nicht bringen zu kein Michshalim in der Kehila. So he wouldn't bring any stumbling blocks into the community. Die zweite Takana is given as Oiber verlassen das Rabbanes, soll moidia sein dem Shtetl Batzeitens. The second rule was if he wants to leave his rabbinic post, he must inform the town in good time. Azoy as es soll kennen nemen einander of, so they could find another rabbi. Die dritte Takana is given. The third rule was, as die Haven, was die Rebbetzin verkauft, soll sein gut und frisch. That the yeast, which the rabbi's wife sells, should be good, it should be fresh. Weil es trefft, als lieb alter Haven, kommen die Chales auf Shabbos nicht herausgeraten. It sometimes happens that because of old yeast, the Chales for Shabbos don't come out well risen. Und jeden haben verstärkte Shabbosim. And people have Sabbath, which is verstärkt, disturbed. Or, yeah, good. Okay, someone else's turn.
Okay, shall I go? Noch a ganzen Zettel andere Takones seien euch gekommen Takones wegen dem Rovs Ausführung. After at the end of the whole list of rules, there also were rules about the rabbi's behavior. Die Balabatim haben verlangt, als der Rovzehrer soll nicht davenen fahren Omed. The Balabatim, the leaders, the higher class people demanded that their rabbi should not lead the prayers, weil das gehört nicht zu Rov, nor to the Balabatim, because this position didn't belong to the rabbi, but it should be controlled by the Balabatim, the leaders of the community. As soll nicht bleiben noch in Davenen im Beschmedres reden mit die Bale Melochas, that he shouldn't remain in the study house and chat with the tradespeople. Nur gleich heimgehen, weil wenn a Rov hält sich nicht in der Meile, ruft nicht aus kein Gehörigen der Herz für sich by the Balabatim. So that he shouldn't speak to the ordinary, the tradespeople, but he should go straight home, because when a rabbi doesn't keep himself aloof, he doesn't project a proper respect for himself among the leaders of the community. Zwischen andere is euch gewinner takona, als der Rov soll nicht nehmen kein Schmecktabak bei Herschel Stock, was is given der Nivza in Stettel. And another rule was that the rabbi should not accept Shmek Tabak is snuff, any snuff from Herschel Stock, because he was Nivza.
Despicable.
Low life. Huh?
Yeah, okay, despicable. He was a despicable person in the town. Also wie die Verfasser von dem Ultimatum haben nicht gewusst, wie also es ist in Loshen Kodesh a Schmecktabak, haben sie geschrieben heimischlich Takone Yud שהרוב לא ייקח שמק טבק מן הנבזה הרשל, המכונה שטק, ולחכימה ברמיזה. Because the person who set out this ultimatum, the people who set out this ultimatum, didn't know how to say in Hebrew the word snuff, shmek tabak. They wrote it heimishlich, they wrote it in Yiddish. So Takona Yud, the 10th rule, that the rabbi should not take or accept snuff from this
Low life.
low-life person Herschel, who is called Stock.
It's enough to just hint for a wise person.
Yeah, that's Talmudic.
Yeah.
It's enough to just say a little hint, and then you would know what we mean. We mean that low life.
Ja. Mein Vater hat geflammt von Busche. My father was blushed with embarrassment wenn hat übergelehnt die Takonis, was man hat ihm herausgestellt. He was very angry when he read over these rules which they set before him. Überhaupt hat ihm geart das, was man lernt im Derech Eretz, most importantly, it concerned him that that the Balabatim were trying to teach him respect. A bescheidener, an onev, a freundlicher, hat bei kein Fall nicht gekannt verstehen, als a Rov soll nicht Toren reden mit Bale Meloches oder nicht annehmen kein Schmeck Tabak. Okay, let's stop it there. He was a bescheidener,
Modest.
Yes, modest.
yeah, a
Reserved.
modest, reserved person, a modest person, a friendly person who could not in any way understand how a rabbi shouldn't be allowed to speak to tradespeople, or that he should not take any snuff from when Emetzer is in Machabed. That he shouldn't accept any snuff from somebody who offered it to him. Mein Mama hat übergelernt die Takonis und gesagt mit Kas. My mother read over these rules and she said in anger, genug Lenchen. Ich soll a viele wissen zu bleiben in Unbräut, will ich dich nicht losen bleiben do mehr, noch dem Xav meditaconis. So she said, enough of Lenchen. Even if it means that I have to remain here without anything to eat, without bread, I don't want to remain any longer in this place after this document with all these rules.